am Leora, and for the last 10 years, my existence has resembled a mirror, endlessly reflecting the same monotonous routine, day in and day out. Each morning unfolded with a well-known cadence, the alarm clock's buzz shattering the tranquility of dawn, while the scent of freshly brewed coffee enveloped the kitchen, a soothing balm amid the tumult. Elias, my husband, hurries about, casting anxious glances at his phone, the burden of the day ahead drawing him toward his job in downtown Santiago. As I lingered in that stillness, the doorbell rang out, a ghostly echo of his absence, leaving me enveloped in solitude. Elias embodies goodness in his very essence. He is someone I can rely on, never misreading my intentions, always putting in the effort and taking his responsibility seriously. Yet there exists a part of him that feels distant, almost unapproachable, leaving me with a sense of longing for warmth and connection. His heart seems entirely consumed by his work, allowing scant space for anything beyond it. In those moments, our words tend to hover in the shadows, constrained to the necessities of conversation, while a wealth of unexpressed thoughts hangs delicately in the air between us. It seems as though we are simply coexisting within the same space, rather than genuinely engaging as partners in this marriage. For years, I told myself that this was simply the nature of married life, that it encapsulated its very essence. Yet, beneath that facade, a deep sense of invisibility quietly resided within me. Amidst the whirlwind of life surrounding us, there stands Saurin, our cherished boxer dog, though in reality he is hers. When he first entered our lives as a tiny puppy, we embraced him with the hope that he would safeguard our home. Yet, for me, Saurin transcended that role. He became yet another cherished companion, a creature to nurture and adore. In truth, I now recognize that I never genuinely devoted the time to comprehend him. He embodied gentleness, a serene presence that enveloped our home in tranquility. On most days, he sought refuge in the garden, soaking in the sun's gentle embrace, or nestled in his bed in the living room, drifting into a tranquil sleep. Saurin and I barely uttered a word to each other. As Elias burst through the door, his heart raced with joy, eager to greet him. However, my experience stood in stark contrast. It seemed he grasped that in my world he was simply present, not genuinely engaging with life, and so the days faded into one another. The house was arranged with precision, the dinner laid out with care, but deep inside me, a haunting silence resonated, filling my heart with an unshakable weight. It's remarkable to comprehend how something so seemingly mundane, such as an ordinary dog, could transform everything I once held to be true. I had never envisioned that a seemingly insignificant being could instigate such a deep transformation within me, yet I stood on the cusp of understanding that Saurin was destined to be far more than merely a companion. He emerged as the singular presence that genuinely comprehended my essence. It was a morning that mirrored countless others, yet within its simplicity lay a serene beauty. Elias had departed for work, as he did every day, and I stood in the kitchen, gazing at my cold coffee, adrift in contemplation. The silence wrapped around me, a dense shroud that suffocated any semblance of solace. The soft murmurs of the wind beyond my walls enveloped me like a tender hug, a striking juxtaposition to the chill that lingered within my own abode. An overwhelming feeling of existence surrounded me. Saurin stood at the kitchen door, his gaze fixed on me, those eyes radiating a tranquility I hadn't felt in what seemed like forever. A deep stillness enveloped the surroundings. He stood motionless, silent as the grave. He remained rooted in place, his gaze fixed upon me with a fervor that implied he understood emotions I found difficult to express. In that brief instant, I was tempted to look away from him, but the intensity of his gaze anchored me in place, urging me to linger. In the stillness I remained, my heart burdened by the shadows of doubt, as I endeavored to decipher the enigma of his behavior. Was it possible that he genuinely grasped the profound intricacies of my feelings? A rich laughter bubbled up from within, accompanied by a joyful shake of my head that mirrored the delight I felt. He is merely a dog, Leora. Let us refrain from engaging in absurdity. In a surprising twist that left everyone astonished, Saurin veered off in an unforeseen direction. He ascended with a measured grace, approaching me and gently laying his head against my leg. I stood there immobilized as uncertainty enveloped me in its suffocating embrace, rendering me utterly bewildered about my next move. In that instant, it dawned on me that I had never forged a connection quite like this with him before. As my hand softly glided across his head, an unforeseen feeling enveloped me, a murmur of comfort that resonated within my heart, assuring me that I was not solitary in this instant. That gesture, seemingly uncomplicated, carried a weighty significance in that ephemeral moment, echoing profoundly within me. In the wake of that day, I became increasingly attuned to the delicate nuances that had once eluded my grasp, akin to soft murmurs carried by the breeze. Every time I settled into the comforting embrace of the sofa, Saurin would select a place just a few paces away, his presence a silent affirmation of the unvoiced connection we nurtured in those tranquil moments. On those challenging days, when my tears surged like an uncontainable tide, I would discover him there, resting silently by the threshold of my room. His presence served as a tender reminder that he grasped the burden of my heart and was prepared to wait, providing comfort through his quiet companionship. It was an experience that seemed almost otherworldly, as though the cosmos had orchestrated a delightful surprise just for me. Though I held no expectations for him, he unveiled his heart, a striking difference from my encounters with Elias, who always appeared to lack that same profound connection. In Saurin, I found an unwavering presence that enveloped me, untainted by conditions or demands, a connection that resonated profoundly within my very soul. It seemed as though he genuinely understood the core of who I am. In a world where I frequently felt invisible, he genuinely saw me. A question emerged, one that had quietly haunted the recesses of my thoughts, a query I had yet to summon the bravery to face. Is it possible that a dog could give me something that my husband has not offered in quite some time? What implications would that hold for me? A dense knot constricted within my chest, an inescapable burden of feeling that clung to me relentlessly. For an extended period, I neglected the profound yearnings that resided within me, until Saurin softly revealed the truth I had been evading. The mornings spent with Saurin remained etched in my thoughts, a haunting resonance of feelings that refused to fade away. A warmth enveloped me, a feeling so authentic, yet it bore an unsettling undercurrent of fear that was difficult to dismiss. It's just a dog, isn't it? I endeavored to persuade myself that my emotions were exaggerated, that it was illogical to feel so intensely. Each time Saurin looked at me or approached with that calm presence, it felt as if a piece of me broke and healed all at once. A wave of emotion washed over me, leaving me grappling with a sense of absurdity for attributing such weight to his behavior. What was taking shape inside me? I endeavored to redirect my focus to different concerns, much like I had consistently done before. While I scrubbed the dishes and tidied the home, a deep silence wrapped around me, its heaviness nearly overwhelming. The truth resided not merely in the quietude of the house, but in the deep silence that enveloped my existence. Resonating within my connection with Elias, there was an emptiness as if ensnared in a perpetual cycle. I crafted the meal, he delved into his duties, and when we eventually convened at the same table, it seemed as if an ocean lay between us. A compelling urge stirred within me to uncover the rationale behind it. He frequently pointed out that Elias is preoccupied, weighed down by a multitude of obligations. Yet what of my own emotions and desires? Did I not possess a place of importance in your realm? When did we begin to separate in this way? A surge of dread enveloped me at the realization of my own ignorance, and then there was Saurin, a guiding light amidst the chaos. In what seemed like a fleeting moment, that dog bestowed upon me a profound sense of fulfillment I had long been seeking over the years. Yet, beneath the surface, I grappled with the challenge of accepting the truth of it all. I discovered that I could not bring myself to confront it, for doing so would reveal a profound unrest lurking beneath the surface of my being. The truth loomed over me, a burden I could no longer ignore. In my quest for solace, I discovered a tendency to chase distractions, attempting to cloak the stillness with a flurry of activity. I endeavored to cast aside those thoughts, yearning to discover a semblance of tranquility within my soul. Still, the fear remained, an ever-present shadow lurking in the recesses of my thoughts. What if it were genuinely the reality? What if my joy was intricately linked to something that Elias could not offer, yet Saurin could? It is simply a dog. He repeated those words to me, but deep down, he recognized that the reality was much more intricate than it appeared. Saurin was never the problem. He mirrored the emptiness I had yet to confront within my life. One afternoon, I settled onto the couch, my gaze fixed on the window, while my thoughts wandered far beyond the scenery, enveloped in a fog of emotions that softened the reality beyond the glass. That day unfolded in a manner reminiscent of countless others that had come before it. In Elias's absence, the house enveloped me in an unsettling silence, while my thoughts churned restlessly, laden with unvoiced fears I dared not face. In that instant, I was enveloped by a deep and stirring feeling. Saurin found his place on the couch, a serene pause enveloping us, a refuge amidst the chaos. It was a moment that took him by surprise, a break from the usual that resonated with a lingering sense of doubt. He curled up next to me, his head softly resting on my leg, enveloping us in a serene moment of solace that felt both gentle and deeply meaningful. I stood there momentarily paralyzed, Astonished by the unanticipated warmth that enveloped me, as I looked at him, a deep understanding enveloped me. In that moment, he transcended the role of mere canine in my perception. I came across a presence that genuinely uplifted me. I softly stroked his head, and in that tranquil moment of connection, he reacted with a serenity that reflected my own feelings, a sensation that was both deep and soothing. It was as if a gentle release washed over me, a softening of the weight that had taken residence within, even if just for a brief, ephemeral moment. In that instant, a gentle warmth wrapped around me, and for the first time in what seemed like forever, I felt a bond that lightened the burden of isolation. Saurin held his tongue, his lips tightly closed, his curiosity lingering in the shadows, and his desires hidden from view. He stood before me, a silent figure, offering a gift I had not known was absent from my existence. Within the domain of our organization, a deep sense of comprehension prevails. A gentle warmth surrounded me, a feeling I had long neglected, and in that instant, I became immersed in deep thought. What is it about a dog that evokes such deep feelings within me? What makes this peace with Elias so difficult to grasp? The question hung in my thoughts, a flicker that slowly illuminated all the details I had been neglecting. In that ephemeral instance of solace that Saurin provided, I found myself pondering whether he might not be the only custodian of the truths I yearned to uncover. Perhaps the most profound question didn't revolve around Saurin at all, but instead focused on my own path and comprehension. That afternoon in the armchair signified a pivotal moment. A profound change stirred within me, etching an unforgettable impression on my soul. After countless years, a deep yearning within me called for transformation, a desire to break free from the shackles of a monotonous existence that had captured my essence. In a serene moment of reflection, I decided to embark on this journey alongside Saurin. The next day, I tenderly took hold of his leash, a swirl of anticipation and nostalgia coursing through me, as I guided him for a stroll in the comforting familiarity of the nearby park. At first, it seemed almost trivial. He strolled alongside me, his inquisitive nose investigating every aroma that wafted by, while I pressed forward, wrapped in a serene reverie. As the days unfolded, I began to sense a deep and significant realization taking shape within me. Saurin discovered delight not solely in the act of walking, but in the comforting warmth of my presence alongside him. Whenever my eyes landed on him, he would look up, as if searching for confirmation that all was well within his soul. With each passing day, those strolls evolved into the most treasured highlights of my daily routine. It was as if we inhabited a realm of our own, a refuge crafted exclusively for him and for me. I felt no compulsion to express my feelings or justify my silence. Saurin was there, a subtle essence that hung in the atmosphere. At first, I discovered myself engaging with him in a manner that seemed both clumsy and hesitant, as though I were teetering on the brink of madness for having a dialogue with a dog. In reality, those conversations became a wellspring of healing for me. Today, Saurin, I stumbled upon a flicker of connection that eased my sense of isolation, if only slightly. One afternoon, as we wandered under the gentle caress of the sun, I revealed my musings to him. In that instant, even in silence, his eyes communicated profoundly, expressing a depth of understanding that went beyond mere words. Slowly, these fleeting instances stirred a sensation within me that I had long left behind, unfiltered, sheer delight. I began to notice the delicate nuances that had previously eluded me, resting quietly in the corners of my consciousness. Drawing in a deep breath, I am embraced by the freshness of the air, while the soft murmur of leaves shares the quiet mysteries of the natural world. The sun's gentle touch envelopes me, a soft reminder of the uncomplicated pleasures that life offers. The most unassuming moments rekindled the flicker of vitality within my tired spirit. As I stepped through the door and caught sight of Elias, an intense feeling of disparity washed over me. As Saurin wrapped me in his attention, companionship, and warmth, I found myself acutely aware of Elias, who remained an unyielding presence in the background of my existence. He appeared distant, ensnared by the soft light of his phone or the dancing shadows on the screen, as though the reality surrounding him had dissolved into oblivion. The burden of acknowledging this disparity pressed down on my heart, yet I could no longer afford to ignore it. Saurin had evolved into an entity that transcended the mere definition of a pet. He occupied a cherished corner of my heart, a genuine confidant in whom I could place my unwavering trust, and in countless ways it has transformed into my refuge. Though I couldn't fully comprehend it, I sensed that those walks carried a meaning that transcended mere necessity. They were destined for my embrace. As the ambience transformed within the confines of their dwelling, Elias started to perceive the delicate yet significant alterations taking shape around him. On a tranquil evening, as we lingered in our comfortable stillness, he placed his fork upon the plate and directed his eyes toward me. "What is it that compels you to dedicate so many moments outdoors with your dog?" His voice carried a weight that made me feel uneasy, suspended between intrigue and irritation, grappling with how to react to the silent tension that enveloped us. I raised my eyes, startled by the unforeseen inquiry. His interest in my pursuits was a rare occurrence. "There's an undeniable warmth in the act of strolling alongside him," I responded, striving to maintain a buoyant tone. Yet, beneath the surface, I felt an unspoken significance hiding within his inquiry. As the days unfolded, the burden of unexpressed emotions and lingering disputes appeared to grow heavier. Elias began to express his thoughts with increasing frequency, each comment imbued with a significance that hung palpably in the atmosphere. "Your attention seems to be directed towards Saurin, which leaves me feeling somewhat neglected. He transcends the mere title of a dog, Leora. He is a cherished companion, a true friend, an integral part of our lives that infuses warmth and joy. It is difficult to perceive him as anything but that. It genuinely perplexes me the extent of importance you assign to him." His words cut through me, leaving a lingering ache that echoed profoundly. In the midst of that suffering, a clarity emerged that I had long evaded. Elias and I sensed an abyss stretching between us, more profound than it had ever been, and it was evident that Saurin was not the source of this separation. Amidst the lingering disagreements that hung in the air, I discovered a sense of peace in my solitary walks and treasured the tranquil moments shared with Saurin. As the days progressed, an undeniable sense of quiet strength began to unfurl within me, deepening with every fleeting moment. It wasn't solely Saurin who filled my heart with warmth. It was the very essence of those moments that resonated deeply within me. This is a pivotal moment, an opportunity to reclaim my breath and shed the burden of feeling trapped. An afternoon remains etched in my memory, laden with difficulty and weight. Before Elias departed for work, we found ourselves ensnared in a disagreement, a moment that hung heavily in the air between us. An overwhelming void enveloped me, as if his words had drained every bit of my vitality. Yet there was Saurin looking at me with a calm confidence that seemed to say, "Don't worry, I'm here for you." As I led him to the park, the familiar routine began to unfold, but in that instant, observing him sprint across the blanket of fallen leaves, an overwhelming surge of emotion enveloped me, a sensation I hadn't felt in what seemed like an eternity. A deep wave of relief sweeps through me, wrapping my essence in a tender hug. The burden that once pressed heavily upon me has vanished, replaced by a serene calm that echoes profoundly within my very being. In that instant of understanding, a surge of relief enveloped me. I came to understand that I was not irreparably broken. Instead, I found that even the smallest shards of happiness could still light my way. Saurin stood as my most steadfast companion, a reliable presence in a realm that frequently seemed unpredictable. Every delicate movement of his, from the soft arc of his tail to the reassuring manner in which he nestled next to me, acted as a touching reminder that even in the most challenging times, there remained a flicker of hope and value. The weight of that night lingered in my heart. Elias and I had scarcely shared a word all day, and when I finally gathered the courage to connect, he merely offered a distant gesture, withdrawing into the light of his phone, which left me feeling more isolated than ever. As I stepped into the room, a weight settled in my chest, an unsettling knot tightening with each breath. The pang of solitude, a feeling that had settled into my being, pressed down on my heart with an undeniable heaviness. As I sat on the edge of the bed, a surge of emotion enveloped me, and I sensed the tears begin to flow down my cheeks. It was an emotion more profound, a subtle pain that resided in the dim corners of my soul. It was a deep void that slowly wrapped around you, rendering you lost and aimless, a lingering echo of everything that is missing. At that instant, the gentle resonance of his footsteps filled the air, awakening a profound sensation within me. With a gentle push, Saurin swung the door open, and in that instant, he advanced with steadfast confidence, drawing closer to me. He nestled at my feet, looking up at me as he always did, his eyes brimming with a profound understanding that seemed almost ethereal. Even in my silence, he appeared to understand the unvoiced sentiments that hung in the air between us. He stood from his chair and ambled toward his bed, a movement so uncommon for him, one that typically demanded a tender prod or a quiet plea. That seemingly simple act awakened profound emotions within me. I held him tightly, letting the tears flow freely unrestrained. As I tenderly touched him, a profound sense of gratitude enveloped me, mingled with a deep, aching sorrow that rendered me adrift, uncertain of how to steer through the tumult of my feelings. Saurin stood enveloped in a silence that weighed upon him, his words imprisoned within, yearning for release. He could not guarantee that all would end well. Nevertheless, the core of his existence conveyed profound messages. In that ephemeral instant, I grasped the profound nature of my yearning for this bond. It was remarkable how something as ordinary as his presence transformed into a vital lifeline for me, a wellspring of strength amid my battle to persevere. I stayed there, cocooned in his arms, as a thought stubbornly clung to my mind. What is it about my bond with him that feels so distinct from what I experienced with Elias? The question loomed before me, shrouded in a veil of dread. It was a moment of clarity, a gentle murmur of understanding that echoed profoundly within me. The burden of certainty enveloped me as though the truth had lingered in the shadows, eager for my recognition. What Saurin extended to me went beyond simple gestures. It was precisely what I had longed for all those years. A deep warmth surrounds us, softly reminding us of the attention we seek and the unwavering love that nourishes our souls. In that softly illuminated chamber, a deep understanding enveloped me, as though a long-hidden fragment of my essence was at last fracturing into fragments. The murmurs of my heart could no longer be ignored, compelling me to heed its call and contemplate its essence. Elias was not the origin of the problem, nor did Saurin possess the solution. The absence pressed down on my heart, a lingering void that had overstayed its welcome, compelling me to reflect on its meaning. The subsequent days and that evening carried an unmistakable sense of transformation. A flame was kindled inside me, casting light into the shadows of my soul. In that moment, I wrestled with a deep sensation that was at once brave and accepting. A powerful force surged within me, unmistakable and fervent. One afternoon, as I stirred a pot of dinner, my hands moved almost autonomously, while my thoughts wandered far afield, adrift in a realm of contemplation. In contemplating the past few months, I am profoundly touched by how Saurin has brought to light a facet of my existence that I once thought was irretrievably gone. To encounter the deep feeling of being authentically recognized, sincerely listened to, and profoundly cherished. It lies not in the eloquence of our speech or the magnitude of our actions, but in the genuine, unadorned presence we extend to each other. In the quiet of that kitchen, I finally confronted a truth I had long avoided, a realization that had dwelled in the shadows of my heart for years. My marriage has shattered into fragments. Elias possessed his own admirable qualities, yet he ultimately did not fulfill the role I genuinely sought in my life. His emotional absence left a deep void inside me, a feeling I struggled to understand for quite a while. A fragment of my essence felt absent, subtly shaping my emotions and thoughts unbeknownst to me. In that moment of clarity, illuminated by Saurin, I realized I could no longer look away. Saurin revealed to me the profound nature of unwavering love. In his presence, I discover a unique tranquility, a lack of expectations, a soft liberation from criticisms, and an unburdened sense of freedom. He stands beside me, presenting a gift I never thought I deserved to receive. His moments, his presence, his compassion resonate deeply. As I confronted this reality, a profound sorrow took root within me, a painful recognition of the chasm between Elias and the reciprocation I yearned for. I could no longer ignore his presence in my life. This void was not of Saurin's creation, nor could it be remedied by leisurely walks or serene interludes. It was a deeper matter, one that awakened something inside me, a crack that had quietly widened over the years, now exposed to the light, impossible to conceal with simple excuses. Leaning against the doorframe, I found my eyes drawn to Elias in the kitchen, a moment frozen in the stillness of time. A tide of grief enveloped me as I observed his deep estrangement, a poignant echo of all that we had once cherished together. Facing this truth enveloped me in a deep urgency as I understood it would demand a complete overhaul of my life. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed the gravity of the moment bearing down on me, an awareness that this was indeed a pivotal juncture. It was a moment of choice, to seize it now or watch it fade into the abyss of lost opportunities. I could no longer ignore the profound longing within me for love, for connection, for that exhilarating sensation of truly experiencing life again. After what seemed like an endless stretch of time, I mustered the bravery to face the reality of my being. In the stillness of contemplation, I came to understand that a significant lesson had emerged from my experiences with Saurin. Genuine love does not stem from desperation. It avoids the shadows of doubt and refrains from searching for satisfaction in misguided realms. True love exists in its most authentic essence, unembellished and sincere. That encapsulated the core of my aspirations, the vision I cherished deeply for my existence. In the days that ensued, a deep metamorphosis began to take shape within me. As I finally accepted the truth of my marriage and faced my genuine longings, a deep sense of clarity enveloped me, a clarity that had been just out of reach for far too long. For the first time, an epiphany enveloped me. The matter reached far beyond merely Elias. It dawned on me that the problem resided within, in that fragment of my being that I misplaced along this path, a version of myself I once held dear but ultimately abandoned. In my pursuit of harmony, I dedicated endless hours to establishing a semblance of control over my surroundings, striving to create an atmosphere that felt just right, fulfilling every expectation laid before me. A nagging sensation lingers within me, a haunting reminder that I may have allowed something truly important to escape my grasp. The core of my happiness, my emotions are profound, my yearnings and aspirations. Saurin had disclosed something to me in a way that, this file exceeds a duration of 30 minutes.